Welcome to the Box Score, brought to you by Blackwell Realty and Josh Kirby team. Murphy, 1 week of playoffs in the books and week number 2 dead ahead.
I was beginning to think we were not going to have any number 4s beating a number 1, but we had a handful, a small handful at that, but always some upsets, and there'll be more this week than there were last week. It's just the big question now is who's going to stay in and who's not.
Murphy, when you look at the playoffs, you know, you have to take your game to another level. You hear coaches say that all the time, and you take a team that's a dark horse, and we'll get over this a little bit later, maybe in next week's show, but there'll be some dark horses. There'll be some 3 and 4 seeds that will make it to the quarters or the semifinals there is every year.
Yeah, all you got to do is look back to Livingston Academy several years ago. They had to win their 10th regular season game even to get into the playoffs, and they ended up winning the whole darn thing.
Smith County actually beat them in week 9 at Livingston. Of course, that's where Jimmy Maynard's from, and then they got on a roll. Wilson Cates, if I remember, was the quarterback, and you know, did an outstanding job, and they just they got hot. Of course, knocked off a lot of top 10 teams and rolled through the playoffs. So let's go ahead and look at some stats we've got from the Lookout Valley at Gordonsville game. Gordonsville jumps up 49-0 at halftime. This is our KFC Taco Bell of Gordonsville and Smithville stats of the week. You know, Gordonsville's got the edge throughout there, Murphy, and also had a big edge in special teams yardages. The only thing that I know Coach Stephen Jackson was concerned about is those 8 penalties for 95 yards. You know, you got to get that cleaned up the deeper you go in the playoffs.
Yeah, you can't, you know, sometimes you can get by on the first round, maybe the second, but those things will catch up with you. And we've seen coaches do that. They know how to get the attention of the kids and understand the importance of those things, giving things away to the other team. And I have all the faith in the world Stephen will take care of that.
Let's go ahead and look at some individual numbers. Matthew Albritton, not a big night, 47 yards passing, 14 yards rushing. He did have a 68-yard interception return for a touchdown. Dalton Hancock, I think that was the opening kickoff, ran it back 80 yards for a TD. Musgrove, 3 rushes for 86 yards. Really holding Lookout Valley down the clock running there in the second half, Murphy. And, you know, Gordonsville was kind of on point in that first 2 quarters to come out and be focused. I know they're disappointed. You know, you lose the region championship like that, but you got to refocus and get their team squared away. And I think Stephen Jackson and his staff are to be commended for no layover effect, Murphy, from that earlier loss in Salina.
Yeah, and another thing they've got going their way is the fact that virtually everyone on that team, as far as the coaching staff, or at least a high percentage of them, has worn that blue and white Gordonsville uniform. And that makes a world of difference when they've got that same pride flowing through their veins. And I think even though they are going to South Pittsburg, I'm confident that it'll be a heck of a football game.
Of course, Adam Shaw, he wore blue and white, and it was Tiger, but the only thing about it was Macon County Tigers. And let's go ahead and look at some more recaps from the ball game. Smith County, a big win over Sycamore, 41-0. Caden Powell, another big night, 109 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, 5 rushes for 48 yards. Johnny Lida, 2 catches, 2 touchdowns. One of them a 56-yard bomb, the other one a 4-yard connection with Powell. He had 3 tackles. Peyton Hicks leads the Owls in rushing, 91 yards. He had 4 tackles. For Sycamore, of course, unfortunately, they lost their running back there. First play of the second quarter, he never did return. He was there to do everything on the ground, but the Owls have been very stingy, Murphy, on the ground this year, giving up less than 2.5 yards a rush.
That's got to be just about if it's not a state record, it's the best in the state this year. Not many teams can make that comment at all.
Of course, Brandon Pennington, they had to really go to the air, and Owls get 3 picks. He throws for 120 yards, but when you look, Murphy, you throw it 21 times, and you complete 7 of your players and 3 of the other team. But now, tremendous pressure by the Owls front. You got to give Ty Martin, Riley Lawler, Jameson Keeley, you know, some of those guys up front, they do a great job. Javier Gaspar putting pressure on the quarterback. Coach Harville brought a variety of blitzes, Murphy. and it kept Pennington on the run the entire game.
I think Coach Dyer and his staff have done an incredible job this year of making sure that one part of the game didn't outdo the other part. Their offense, their defense, their special teams have been right on target every time they've taken to the field.
Of course, Smith County improves to 10-1. They get their 9th straight win. They lost the second ball game at home against DeKalb. They've reeled off 9 straight, and they've got a huge game against Fairview this week in Carthage that we'll get to in just a minute. But right now, the Owls look poised to make a run to Chattanooga.
I think so, and that's not just local yokels saying that.
Right.
I've heard some guys in Nashville and even in West Tennessee give very high numbers to the Owls, and expect to see them in Chattanooga playing for a title.
Of course, you got Smith County and Fairview this week. You also got East Nashville and Waverly. That should be 2 great ball games.
But you're on the opposite side of the bracket from Alcoa, and that's what really counts.
That is for sure. Let's go ahead and look at the Canyon County and Loudon. Loudon gets the win 31-7. Of course, Loudon's a great place to go. Murphy, you've been there before. Such tradition. I mean, the guy that does their program does a tremendous job. He's done that for like 30 or 40 years. And when you walk in the press box, it's like walking in a college press box, because they give you the history of every time that these teams have met, all the records and all that nostalgia. To me, it adds to the tradition that Loudon High School has.
It's all part of the atmosphere when you line up for a football game. Loudon, one of the teams that got in on that very early in the early 70s, winning some state championships as well. And Jeff Herrig has stepped in, an Ohio native, but he stepped in and has continued that tradition the last few years. I don't know how far they're going to get, but I fully expect them to probably be around for another round or 2.
Well, of course, they've got to go, I think, to Giles County. We'll look at that in just a minute. But for the Redskins, Bronson Scrivener, 9 for 17, 179 yards, also 12 yards rushing, a couple of TDs. Eli Kelso, 2 receptions for 100 yards and a touchdown. For Canyon County, their season comes to a close. Kobe Miller, 4 for 12, 56 yards, also had 14 rushes for 59 yards. Xavier Oldham, 2 carries for 7 yards, a touchdown, and also a reception for 46.
Terry, they did a good job in the first half. It's just kind of the same thing. They just kind of run out of gas in the last 2 quarters, but they played a pretty good first half. And the upside to all of this is that so many of those skill position people will be back again next year at the 2A level. But they'll have a huge mountain to climb when they have to play Carthage, right, for sure.
DeKalb County at East Hamilton. Of course, DeKalb, a very tough loss, but Murphy 21-14 down in Chattanooga. But Kobe Barnes, what an effort by him. We've said this all year, Murphy, he's one of the standout players in the state of Tennessee. 55 rushes, 327 yards and a touchdown. That young man had to have an ice bath, I'm sure, Saturday, Sunday, Monday to try to recover from carrying the ball that many times.
It makes me tired to just think about it. It really does. And isn't he back next year as well, or is he a senior?
I believe he's a senior.
Okay.
I believe he's a senior. But,
we can breathe a sigh of relief there, because
right,
he's one of those that once he gets to the corner, it's he's such a hard guy to catch.
Right. He's such a bruising back as well.
Yes.
With his size. He's just done an outstanding job for Coach Steve Trapp all year. Malachi Trapp in 1 rush for 37 yards and a touchdown, but East Hamilton gets the win. Juan Bullard, 124 yards passing, 61 yards rushing, and then Carice Willis, 6 receptions for 89 yards. So, Murph, that'll about do it for the first part of our show, and we'll have some talk about some first-round scores and some second-round matchups when we return, as you're watching The Box Score on DTC TV.
There's no shortage of real estate companies out there, but there's only one Blackwell Realty and Auction. The Kirby team with Blackwell Realty and Auction has the knowledge and the experience necessary to help you. They understand that real estate sales happen because of the hours of work they put into every sale, whether representing you as the buyer, the seller, or both. Get started today the Kirby way. The Kirby team with Blackwell Realty and Auction. Call them today or visit blackwellrealtyandauction.com.
If If you're a commercial driver looking for a company to call home, Huff and Puff Trucking is the company for you. Our employees are professional and dedicated individuals that take pride in what they do. We offer an outstanding pay package with a dispatch structure that maximizes your home time. To learn more about a company that knows you by name and treats you like family, call us at 1-800-965-5033 or visit our website at huffpufftrucking.com.
2 delicious options, 2 convenient locations. So make the entire family happy with just one stop to KFC Taco Bell. Located at 501 Gordonsville Highway in Gordonsville and 105 East Broad Street in Smithville, we've got you covered at KFC Taco Bell, no matter the food craving. So what are you waiting for? Go ahead, get in the car and kick that hunger to the curb with a quick visit to KFC Taco Bell. Located in Gordonsville and Smithville. Stop by today.
Neighbors help each other. It's how community works. And it's how we do business at DTC. You can count on us for internet, TV, and phone, backed by local support.
For a limited time, get 1 month free when you add or upgrade your internet package. Enjoy internet speed that can keep up with all you do.
DTC. We're working hard to be a good neighbor.
And welcome back to the Box Score. Terry Collins along with Murphy Fair, and we're going to take a look at some Sonic of Carthage Class 1A first round scores. South Pitt big over Red Boiling, Whitwell big over Joe Burns, Clay County big over Sell Creek, and Fayetteville extra big over South Fulton, 75 points, Murphy.
They had 69 at halftime.
Right.
It's an incredible football team down there. I'm sure that set some records as far as halftime scores or whatever the case may be. They're very, very special, and I think everyone's pretty well conceded the 1A championship to the Fayetteville Tigers.
Let's go ahead and look at some more games that will be coming up. You've got Oliver Springs at Cloudland, United at Coalfield, Gordonsville, of course, at South Pitt, Whitwell at Clay County, Fayetteville at Dresden. Murphy, I think Gordonsville, South Pitt, Whitwell at Clay County should be 2 excellent football games.
I think you're right. I think they've got a chance to be close. It's interesting how many teams on that board right there have played Gordonsville at one time or another. I think every game up there has got somebody listed that has played Gordonsville in the last 2 or 3 years.
Coalfield this year's only loss is to Gordonsville.
Right.
So, a team that Gordonsville could face down the road. You never can tell.
Absolutely.
Let's go ahead and look at some Sonic of Carthage Class 2A scores. Of course, Tyner ends Charleston County's season in Chattanooga, 47-14. Westmoreland Murphy, a close win over Meigs County. Of course, Westmoreland was the number 2 seed behind East Robertson in their region, and Meigs County the number 3 seed, and sounded like it was a good one up in Westmoreland.
Yeah, it does. And then that next game, York Institute, they're at 2A. That's where Cannon County and Smith County will be next year. How many more days before we find out? Is it here in the next week or 2 days?
I think,
something
yes.
like that. We'll find out what the proposed regions look like.
Right.
But it looks like somebody in the county is probably going to play York next year.
Well, I mean, when you look at 3 teams going back in our area, Jackson, Cannon, and Smith to 2A, just wonder how they're going to configure that. York, a big win over Cumberland Gap. South Green, big over Rockwood in Monterey. They won their region out of Region 2A. Murphy beats Happy Valley, which is Upper East Tennessee. Monterey, the very western edge, and having to do a lot of traveling. Luckily right now they're at home in the playoffs, but it's a long way to Bristol.
Oh, it is. It is for sure. And Happy Valley just outside of Elizabethton, so they had to make a long trip for that one for sure.
Down to Monterey. Let's go ahead and look at the matchups that we've got coming up. Monterey having to go to Hampton.
Well, that's a long trip to Hampton.
I was going to say, that's got to be, 3 hours, Murph? 3.5?
Might be 3.5. It's a trip. I've been to Hampton, and it's a fun place to go. But there's not much in Tennessee east of Hampton.
I was going to say, you've got to get in Virginia if you get any further east. South Green at York, Westmoreland at Tyner, Bledsoe County at East Robertson. And Murphy, when you look at Westmoreland, they're going to have to combat the speed of the Tyner Rams.
That's true, and I think York's got a really good shot at beating South Green. South Green has resurrected their football program the last 3 or 4 years and have been 9 or 10 win seasons more times than not. But York's not a bad football team either. They finally got the ship righted, if you will, and I think they'll give South Green a pretty good ball game.
Let's go ahead and look at the Class 3A first round scores. The Sonic of Carthage, Sweetwater big over Grundy County, McMinn Central over Sequatchie. That was a little bit of an upset. Sequatchie was the number 2 seed, McMinn Central the 3 seed. Giles County big over Brainerd, Fairview over Maplewood, East Nashville over White House. East Nashville scores with 2 minutes left. Murphy, White House is up 10-6 before East Nashville gets a Zach Beard late touchdown to avoid the upset, and then Waverly big over Stratford.
Well, you made the comment that White House gave East Nashville all they wanted last year.
That's correct.
And obviously that happened again. A tough loss for the Blue Devils, but it kind of lets you know that maybe East Nashville, maybe not the team we thought they were. At least the coaches from White House and Smith County certainly saw their numbers.
East Nashville, they've been a very prolific offensive team all year, but they struggled, only scoring 14 points in their 15-14 loss to the Owls. And then White House last year held them to 17 points, lost to them 17-13 in East Nashville, or at East Nashville in that quarterfinal round as they went on to the Class 3A state championship game.
It would not surprise me if Waverly didn't beat East Nashville this week. I know a lot of people in Carthage were thinking, well, we're probably going to have to play East Nashville a second time come third week of the playoffs, but that could very well be Waverly.
If Waverly wins, the Owls would have to go to Waverly, about a 2.5-hour trip. Of course, that's the other side, 25-30 miles the other side of Dixon. So a long way down I-40 to get to Waverly.
It is, but they've got a nice new field. It was underwater during that terrible flood last year, and they had to play. They played their very first game of the season, I think, at home, and all of the rest of them, the rest of the season, had to be on the road.
Of course, the Titans helped them out, and they played
one game.
White House against Waverly was at the Titans Stadium. Let's go ahead and look at the second round games. Pigeon Forge at Alcoa, Loudon at Giles County, Fairview at Smith County, East Nashville at Waverly, Middleton at Covington, Ripley at Dyersburg. Murphy, there's several of those games I think will be close, good ball games.
Yeah, and a couple of those, I think Millington at Covington and I know Ripley at Dyersburg are repeats of regular season games. A little bit of surprise that Ripley got in. They had a bit of a rebuilding year, but so did Dyersburg, and Bart Stowe just had the right numbers last week to get to round 2.
Let's go ahead and look at the Sonica Carthage Class 4A scores. Upperman 34-7 over Chattanooga Central, Red Bank over Macon County, Stone Memorial over Hickson, Greeneville over Knox Fulton, and Anderson County big over Seymour. And it looks like Greeneville and Anderson County, Murphy, on a collision course.
Well, maybe so. They've got Anderson County has to worry about Elizabethton this week. I think that was a 35-34 overtime win for Anderson County, but they're, I think, a much better football team. And the biggest problem I think that Anderson County has is thinking about Greeneville. They got to take care of Elizabethton first.
Let's go ahead and look at the second round games. Gibbs at Greeneville, Elizabethton and Anderson County, Upperman at East Hamilton, Red Bank at Stone Memorial, Hardin County at Pearl Cone. Murphy, when you look at the Upperman East Hamilton, I think that'll be a good contest. And that Elizabethton and Anderson County, I think could be a good one.
I think so. They've got I was up there about 3 or 4 weeks ago witnessing one of their games, and you talk about an atmosphere for high school football. That place was elbow to elbow on both sides of the field. They played Gibbs that night, had a bit of a slow start, and one ended up winning 3 or 4 touchdowns, but a fun place to go. I think Upperman may very well be the last team left in that quadrant that will still be playing next week.
Of course, Stone Memorial and Red Bank, that should be a great matchup. You know, that was a 7-point game with Macon County, and if you'll remember, Stone Memorial goes for 2, doesn't get it, and Macon beats them 35-34. So, you know, at least on paper, that seems to be a very evenly matched ball game that is going to be in Crossville when Stone and Red Bank play.
Should be fun. My daughter lives in Hardin County, and they've had a pretty good run the last 2 or 3 years, but I don't know if they're much of a match for Pearl Cone. They've still got a lot of athletes out there on the west side of Nashville.
Let's go ahead and look at the Class 5A Sonic of Carthage scores. Mount Juliet big over Lincoln County. Page beats Greeneville. White County against Franklin County, and Nolensville over Wilson Central. And I think the two teams that jump out to me are Page and Nolensville. I got to see them play Murphy on TV earlier this year. They've got two outstanding teams.
Yeah, and so does White County, especially the running back that they have, a Mr. Football finalist. I think he, the fourth week of the season, he'd already surpassed the 1,000-yard mark. And Malachi
Dial?
Yes, an outstanding running back. And I'm kind of looking forward to a White County Nolensville game next week. That should be a dandy.
Let's go ahead and look at the second round games. Page at Mount Juliet, White County at Nolensville, Portland and Henry County, and Springfield at Mumford.
Don't know much about Mumford other than the fact that they've won 11 football games. Their coach should be part of the all-name team, Slade Calhoun. Does that not sound like a guy who's ready to draw his gun in the middle of town for a shootout?
For a deal.
Yeah, absolutely. Henry County beat Portland. They're in the same region, and that was about a 3 or 4, maybe 5 touchdown game. I don't think that one will be close, but I think all of the rest of them on the board right there should be outstanding football games. Of course,
Johnny Jones, the great Tennessee tailback.
Yes.
From Mumford, if I remember right.
You are
according
correct.
to John Ward. So Class 6A Sonic of Carthage scores. Stewart's Creek, a tough one, Murph. They lose to Coffee County 28-21. That's one of those 1-4 matchups. Coffee County had beaten Lebanon earlier in the year and won that region, but then had to struggle with Stewart's Creek. Blackman over Cookville. Lebanon, that was a nail biter, 41-34. Lebanon's boy, after he scored that touchdown in the first overtime, spiked the ball, and they gave him a 15-yard penalty, and then they missed the extra point, which would have won the ball game. But then Lebanon scored, got the PAT, and then stopped Riverdale to win that thing in 2 overtimes. And then Oakland big over Shepville.
Oops, Coach, I forgot. I've been watching too many Sunday games, I guess. But Coffee County now plays host to Blackman. I look for Blackman to kind of put Coffee County away in that one. And glad to see Lebanon's Chuck Gentry still in the hunt out there. They'll have to travel to Oakland.
Of course, last year Oakland played at Lebanon and ended the Blue Devils season, the best one I think it ever had. Looking at the Class 6A second round games, Farragut at Science Hill, Bearden at Maryville, Blackman at Coffee County, and Lebanon at Oakland. And I think Bearden may be the favorite in that game, Murphy. I think it'll be a good ball game, but it's not like in the past where you think Maryville's going to roll all the way to the matchup with Oakland.
Yeah, I was going to look here because they did play during the regular season. I don't have that score with me right now, but I think Maryville won by a couple of touchdowns. And the fact that it's played at Maryville, that's kind of like we were talking about South Pittsburg. Maryville's a tough place to go and come away with a win.
We'll have an interview with Gordonsville head coach Stephen Jackson when we return here to the Box Score, brought to you by Blackwell Realty and the Josh Kirby team.
There's no shortage of real estate companies out there, but there's only one Blackwell Realty and Auction. The Kirby team with Blackwell Realty and Auction has the knowledge and the experience necessary to help you. They understand that real estate sales happen because of the hours of work they put into every sale, whether representing you as the buyer, the seller, or both. Get started today the Kirby way. The Kirby team with Blackwell Realty and Auction. Call them today or visit blackwellrealtyandauction.com.
Opioid overdoses continue to claim lives in Tennessee. Naloxone, an opioid reversal drug, can save lives. Call the Smith County Drug Prevention Coalition for a free, quick, and confidential training. Also, if you are struggling with substance use disorder due to your alcohol and drug use, help is only a phone call away. Call the Tennessee Red Line. This project is funded under a grant contract with the Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services.
Nearstar Middle Tennessee Mines in Gordonsville is hiring. We have open positions for master, certified, and experienced heavy-duty maintenance techs, maintenance supervisor, entry-level and experienced miners and exploration infill drillers, grade operator, electricians, laboratory and metallurgical technician, senior metallurgist, and more. We offer competitive wages, excellent benefits, PTO, holiday pay, exceptional 401k, and lots more. Make the most of your future and your career. Join the excellent team at Nearstar Middle Tennessee Mines in Gordonsville.
And welcome back here to the Box Score, sponsored by Blackwell Realty and the Josh Kirby team. And we've been graced by the presence of Gordonsville head coach Steven Jackson. And Coach, a tough foe this week. Congratulations, first of all, on your win over Lookout Valley in the first round of the playoff, but two very familiar teams. Not sure how many years y'all have met in a row, Coach, but it's been several. Seems like every time in the playoffs, Gordonsville and South Pitt inevitably clash.
Yeah, I think I looked it up the other day, and I think it was like 4 years in a row, and actually went there a few years from like 2013 to 16 that didn't play in the playoffs. I don't know for sure. I think at one time maybe they would play like the Wayne counties and teams down that way. But, yeah, it's a familiar foe between South Pitt and Gordonsville. It's a big tradition schools. It's always a really good ball game, so I don't expect any different this Friday.
Steven, I know there's a lot of differences between Gordonsville and Oakland in terms of size and the ability to raise funds when something big comes along. But what's been the biggest single difference, you think, between being a coordinator at a school the size of Oakland and being in charge of everything at a school like Gordonsville?
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to work with Coach Creasy, and he let me do a lot of different things, run the weight program, do different aspects of the program. But, all those things, they still went through Coach Creasy. It's been different this year of, going through just me, and having to get buses ready and team meals ready and, just all the little things I didn't have to really deal with, in the past, being an assistant coach. It's been a challenge, but I got a bunch of great guys around me that helped me out with that. Coach Clemens, Coach Petty, Coach Bush, all the assistant coaches, they all chip in and help out in any way that I need them.
Steven, when you look, I know a very disappointing loss for you at Clay County against Salina, because really you had the path set up, if you could have won that ball game, to play all your games at home until you went to Chattanooga, all 4 rounds. Of course, that's not going to happen. You're going to have to go on the road here in the second and third and possibly fourth round, depending on how far you get. But still, at playoffs, everybody's 0-0, and you still have the opportunity to make the state championship game.
Yeah, that's going into the year and stuff and looking at like, all right, if we win a region, we're going to get to play all these games at home, and we just didn't take care of business. We got beat by a really good Salina team that, they took advantage of every situation that we messed up on, turning the ball over and stuff. So they, earned that right to be region champs and have that opportunity to play all the rounds at home. But, it's kind of like life. Not everything's going to go exactly how you want it to go. So, it's kind of a challenge. It's a thing that you're just going to have to push through. And that's, I thought we came out last week, instead of just tucking our heads and been like, we're playing Lookout instead of playing at home all these rounds, and came out and played really hard. So I don't expect our kids to do anything different this week than come out and play a really good football team and play as hard as we can. And if, as long as we take care of the ball, I think it's going to be a great football game.
Steven, who is the advantage in this game this week? I know, you can make the argument, well, they've already beat us once, it's going to be even harder. Or does that serve as a momentum building thing for your kids? Hey, we've got some unfinished business we need to take care of.
Yeah, you talking about this week. we want to get back to Salina. I mean, that's what we talked about that night, watching them celebrate on their field. Is we would love to get back to a third-round game at their place, but, the only way to do that is take care of, the first-round game, the second-round game, and then get to go back up to Salina. But, talking about advantage this week, I mean, playing at South Pitt's a really hard thing. I mean, it's one of the toughest places to play. We played there last year when it was at Oakland, and in first quarter, first half, it was a ball game. I mean, they scored a couple times on us, so it's a really hard place to go and play, but it's a challenge, and that's what you ought to like if you're playing in sports in the playoff.
Sorry, that was my mistake. I was already had you guys going to Salina next week. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
Coach, when you look at South Pitt, they're always graced with a lot of athletes, a lot of speed. They have some of that this year, but doesn't seem like they have the track burners that they've had in the past. That makes you guard every inch of the field, the entire width and length of the field when they have that speed. Yes, they still have speed, but I don't know that they have as much as they had that the Gordonsville Tiger team saw a year ago.
Yeah, they've team speed for them is not as much as it was last year, but they still have a lot of team speed on their team, and they offensively they do a good job of going 2x2 and 3x1 and spreading the field out and putting getting a player the ball in space. So it's a game that we've got to do a good job. You're never going to stop anybody that's got a lot of team speed, but you got to be able to contain it and try to get them on the ground and make them snap the ball again. And same thing, offensively, you just got to, lineman blocking a linebacker that's got some speed. You just got to have a base about you and know, to engage them and know that they're going to try to rip underneath or over the top of you.
Coach, you looking at South Pittsburg and going always to there, it's a tough place, like you said, to play. The crowd is always tremendous, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of people from Gordonsville make the trip down to South Pitt to watch that. It's the same stadium they played in for a long time. A lot of seating there, and it's just one of the special places, just like Turney Ford Field is, to play high school football.
Yeah, it's when I played high school, I think it was my junior year, we went down there in the third round, and it was a tradition place that we'd heard about all week. And when we went down there, it was a hard place to play that year. And every year that, volunteer coached at Gordonsville from 05 to 2010 was, we went down there probably 3 times, was always a really good environment. The locker room used to be right beside the field, and you'd have to walk through their crowd to get there. And there's, a lot of people, trying to get under your skin, talk trash to you, stand there as you go in the locker room. But it's going to be a big environment on Friday night, and we're going to take a huge crowd because it's a big ball game. So I look for it to be one of the best environments that we've played in this year.
Stephen, it's great to hear you say that about certain places that you go to. And like Terry said, it is one of the best places to go and watch or play a high school football game. It's very, very special. What's the injury situation like in terms of the Tigers right now? Everybody pretty much 100%, or are you going to have to go without some key people this week?
Yeah, we're actually back to, pretty much 100%. We've got, a couple guys that, one that was out early on in the year, and then one got hurt the first part of the year is out. But other than that, we're as healthy as we've ever been. So it's very promising for, going and playing one of the better games that we played, hopefully all year, having everybody out and being healthy.
Stephen, when you look at your team, the games that they have struggled with, there's been turnovers or penalties that have hurt you. And I know you never go into a game saying, okay, we're going to be penalty-free or turnover-free, but don't you feel like that plays a very key role when you got 2 pretty evenly matched teams?
Oh, definitely. I think, and we've talked about this, we've in the 3 games that we've lost, we've got, I think it's 11 turnovers. And in those 3 games, it's been about a 5-minute span in each game that we'll turn the ball over. I mean, 2 of the games they had pick sixes, and then we had 2 fumbles on a kickoff return. The games we've lost this year have been games that we've eventually got over the hump of the adversity that we've been dealt with, but we don't get over it quick enough. And that's something we've talked about, is being able to respond. You got to respond to every play to playing your best. Don't look back at the last play the next play.
Stephen, it's going to be a fun Friday night, and we certainly wish you well. Have a safe trip down there, and let's bring back a trip to Clay County for next week.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
We've been visiting with Gordonsville head coach Stephen Jackson. We'll have more of the box score brought to you by Blackwell Realty and the Josh Kirby team as you're watching DTC 3.
What is your emergency?
I think I'm being robbed.
Sir?
These big home security guys want way too much money from me.
Let's connect you to a local company right away.
It's a crime what big national companies charge for home security.
For just $49.99, get a system with a touch keypad, 3 window or door sensors, motion detector, key fob, and standard installation.
Help is on the way, sir.
Oh, thank you.
Switch now and save. Call or visit DTC Security online today.
Don't be fooled. Vaping is just another way to deliver nicotine to your lungs. Learn the facts and escape the vape. We get it. Quitting is hard, but getting help is easy. Call the Tennessee Tobacco Quit line at 1-800-QUIT-NOW for free counseling and cessation patches. Sign up for the free Tennessee Tobacco Quit line program and let us help you quit for good. This project is funded under a grant contract with the Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services.
Nearstar Middle Tennessee Mines in Gordonsville is hiring. We have open positions for master, certified, and experienced heavy-duty maintenance techs, maintenance supervisor, entry-level and experienced miners and exploration infill drillers, grade operator, electricians, laboratory and metallurgical technician, senior metallurgist, and more. We offer competitive wages, excellent benefits, PTO, holiday pay, exceptional 401k, and lots more. Make the most of your future and your career. Join the excellent team at Nearstar Middle Tennessee Mines in Gordonsville.
Final segment in 3, 2, 1. And welcome back to the box score for our final segment. And Murphy, second round of the playoffs, you kind of weed some of the weaker teams out. And, there's some great matchups in all of the classifications and in the private schools this week.
Yeah, last week was fairly easy. In 110 games, I was 85+%. But I'm pretty sure I won't be anywhere close to that this week. There's too many close games at hand.
We'll look at the Huff and Puff Trucking Game of the Week. Of course, that is tape delayed due to the NFHS network. Fairview at Smith County, and the Yellow Jackets and the Owls, I think, meeting for the 3rd time. Fairview won back in 2010, 11, 12 when Coach Maynard was here. I think they beat us 29-14, and then last year the Owls win at 18-7 at Carthage. And, Chris Hughes has built a very solid program, Murphy. When you look back, they have made the playoffs now for the 22nd consecutive year.
Pretty stout.
That's really stout. He has got about a 73% win percentage through the years, but they've never made it past the quarterfinals.
Tell you a bit of trivia about Coach Hughes. He's in his early 50s, and he still plays competitive flag football.
Right.
One of the better teams in the entire Southeast, but the guy loves the game, and I love to aggravate him. He said something to you about not letting me come to the ball game because they always lose, but they've always lost when they've played at Fairview. I've never seen Fairview and Smith County play in Carthage.
Right.
So he'd die if I showed up, I guess.
This is the 3rd matchup, and all 3 have been in Carthage. Smith County's never had to travel to Fairview, and that's our Huff and Puff Trucking Game of the Week. Should be a good one from over in Carthage on Friday night. Murph, we've got some picks we want you to make, and we're going to start out 1A, 2A, and 3A. We're going to start with what I think will be a very good ball game. Whitwell coming up from the Valley to go to Salina and play Clay County?
I think so. Whitwell won a state championship about 3 or 4 years ago with the coach who's now heading the team at Waverly. I think that's the only time they've ever won a state championship. Not sure if Clay County has or not. I don't think
they have in basketball, but no others, not in football.
But I think on the gridiron, Clay County is going to win this one, and then next week we can hopefully talk about a Gordonsville Clay County matchup again.
Monterey making a long trip up to Hampton.
They didn't need that long trip to make things any more difficult, but Hampton is a very good football team. They scored in the last 2 minutes of the ball game to beat Daniel Boone, an undefeated 5A football team. Got to go with Hampton in that one.
Westmoreland at Tyner.
Tyner, I think this may be one of the best, if not the best team Tyner's ever had, and they've won some state championships. Beat Union City several years ago in one that I'm aware of, but I think Tyner wins that one going away.
East Nashville at Waverly, a much anticipated game, of course, the winner of the Smith County game with Fairview. If it's East Nashville and Smith County wins, the game will be in Carthage. If Waverly wins, then the Owls, if they win, will have to travel to Humphreys County to play Waverly.
I don't know which case Smith County fans would like more. I think they'd probably like to play at home, but I'm not sure they want to play East Nashville again as close as that game was. I'm going to go with Waverly in this one.
Murph, now we're going to look at the Class 4A, 5A, and 6A picks, and at least those top two right there, I think a touchdown either way is probably how those two games will wind up.
I do too. I don't know how much Adam Kane being from Chattanooga has to do with this game, but maybe he got some inside information from some of his coaching buddies down there. I really look for Upperman to win that ball game.
Then Red Bank at Stone, Murphy, those, at least comparing scores, it should be two pretty close-knit teams. Red Bank had not lost a game until Fayetteville went there and spanked them on their home field. Of course, 1A playing against 4A.
Yeah, but like I said, that 4A team, 1A team at Fayetteville is pretty special. I think they beat Cleveland last year, a 5A team. I've got to go with Red Bank in that one.
White County at Nolensville. Nolensville, a very good team. They wound up beating what I would consider a very good team, Page. Page had a great first half, but then second half didn't do anything, and they wound up Nolensville beat them in overtime, that game at Nolensville.
White County has played some pretty good football teams, and everybody knows Malachi is going to get the ball, and They still can't stop him. I've got to go with White County in that one. Their program has been down for so long.
Right.
It's kind of nice to see somebody like that back in the headlines.
Lebanon at Oakland.
I'm afraid this is going to wind it up this year for Chuck Gentry. Oakland's just got too many weapons and too much speed.
Let's go ahead and look at a couple local picks. Gordonsville at South Pitt, Mark.
Oh boy, I tell you what, that's going to be a dandy. I'd really like to go to that one, but I'm gonna put Coach Jackson in charge, and I think he's got a battle plan to take care of some of that South Pitt speed. I'm going to go with Gordonsville.
And in Fairview, the Yellow Jackets coming to Owl Stadium.
Yeah, the Owls, unless they just turn the ball over multiple times, I think Smith County by far has got the better football team, and I got to go with the black and gold. But that's going to take care of both teams. So I guess I'll narrow it down and say Smith County.
Murph, when you look, our weather's been great all year. It's supposed to be good again Friday night. It's supposed to then turn bone-chilling cold Saturday, Sunday, Monday. But the weather this year for high school football, I don't know that you could have scripted a better year.
No, it's been awesome. And if it's supposed to be cold Saturday morning, something's got to be blowing in on Friday night. So take an extra jacket just in case.
Well, we want to thank Justin Malden, always doing a great job for us. And for Murphy Fair, we want to thank all our fine sponsors. I'm Terry Collins. Good night from the Box Score.